Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Talk About Transformers. Today we're going to be taking a look at the War for Cybertron trilogy Kingdom Voyager class Cyclonus, which is one of my favorite figures from the line. I want to say it might be my favorite figure that I own from the Generations line, not counting anything from the Studio Series line, and even then. A little bit of housekeeping. When I shot my Primal review, I put that this was going to be next, and it should have been Saucer Bumblebee today, which is going to be Monday. And so instead of having my end cards all messed up and goofy again, I decided this will be Monday's review. Saucer Bumblebee will come out on Friday, and then Wednesday in between is going to be the Dragoon comparison with Skybreaker. Now that we have that out of the way, go ahead and get into the review proper. Alrighty, so here's Cyclonus in his space alt mode, just 95% known cone with some wings on. And purple is my second favorite color. Orange is my first favorite color, so I've got a lot of bias going on in this color scheme, because it doesn't really matter which way they are on there. They're both on there. Would I prefer it the other way? Sure. Orange ship, purple windows. I could dig that, but I'm not going to complain. And this window part is clear plastic molded separately from the purple around it and fit in there, because this purple is not painted, it is molded. So no paint chipping there, no color matching issues. This panel is actually painted purple, and you can see it when you're looking right next to them on the camera, but in real life it's harder to notice. Then you've got painted dark purple, this pearlescent gray tan color that's painted in, and then this is molded in that color, and the color matching on that is a little more obvious, but they're not touching, so it's easier to ignore it because there's this purple part in between. He's got landing gear, one up here, two down here. They don't interfere with the transformation at all. They don't have to be there, but now when he lands, he's not scraping along the ground. They don't roll or anything. But, I mean, he could literally just fly in and transform if he wanted to. So this is less for the good of the character as a character and more for the good of you as a collector. Because if you wanted to display him like this, now he's not just going... Now he's got somewhere to sit. I'm going to go ahead and fold those up, though. Actually, I'll leave them out. I will be doing size comparisons, and I don't want him to look like he's just derelict on the ground. Coming up the bottom, you see robot mode stuff. It's not, none of it is really egregious. It's just bottom panel bits. I mean, if you know the robot mode, you know this is the chest, and that these are the leg parts. But, I mean, if it was just a ship, it would look alright with me. There's not a whole lot of issues here. Just lots of molded detail on the underside to keep it interesting. And then they've got the siege port here, and they've got this rib molded in to make it, look less like it's just there and more like it's part of something. So that's nice. And then you've got 4 thrusters on the back with lots of little details in there. Coming up the back of the jet, you got venting and line work, and the arms blend in pretty good. The plastic on the arms is different than the plastic on the legs, but it just makes it look like the engines are, they pop, the engines pop, and that's not a bad thing. Then you've got more of that purple paint here. These are actually little gaps, and they almost look like they're painted sections, but no, there's little gaps in there, just molded gaps. Then these, I believe, are where the knees are, so that they serve a purpose. I could be wrong. Then you've got the hinges here, but it all blends together pretty good. I'm not mad at any of it. And then you've got the port up here for his weapon, along with, you've got a port here, a port on his other arm, the ports on his wings, and then you can plug stuff into the back of them. I don't have any of the blast effects that'll fit any of that, and unless you want his gun just to be asymmetrically hanging off his wings or his butt, the best place is to put it on the roof it doesn't look great, which is why I usually don't have it out of the box, but I broke it out of storage for this. So we'll go ahead and bring that in, show it off. It's molded purple, painted silver, and it looks pretty good. It's got some like stabilizer fins. It really reminds me of something Hyperion would make in Borderlands. And then, like I said, you can just blap that on his roof, and there you go. The biggest complaint people have had about this figure is the gaps here in the front. With how good the figure it is, it doesn't even bother me. Like, if this is the only problem in it and the transformation's fun and the robot looks great, I'll take it. I'm not gonna complain about it one bit. I mean, it should probably sit somewhere like this, and it doesn't, and that's a shame, but I'm over it. So I'm gonna take his gun back off because I think that looks silly. We'll go ahead, get to some size comparisons. Starting off the size comparisons, as per usual at this point, we've got our shiny Rubik's Cube. We've got our Gormagala statue. Considering the size of the cockpit, the statue of Gormagala is a sizable threat compared to the people that would be piloting this thing. We have Bumblebee here, our Volkswagen Bumblebee, as a standard. So you can see this Bumblebee is kind of Voyager size as a robot, so Voyager size vehicle. And then I'm gonna just show off the little Bumblebee that's gonna be Friday, just to remind people that he is a thing and that I messed the order up. So you got Bumblebee hanging out with Cybertron Cyclonus. Not that he ever had an Earth mode, but so you got two Cybertron vehicles. Then the real Voyager comparison for Kingdom / Earthrise / Siege is going to be Dinobot, because he'll be the next Voyager review that I do, because he's my last Kingdom Voyager. Oh no, I have Inferno too, so Inferno will be after Dinobot. We got our Dinobot in there. And so that'll be the last part of the Maximal team I have to review, though. I think if we're talking original Beast Wars, like I said previously a few times, I haven't watched the new show, but since that's about it for size comparison, so we'll go ahead and get him transformed up. Alright, to start off with transformation, we'll go ahead and snap in his landing gear. I noticed that sometimes, at least on this leg, when I push the landing gear in, it kind of tries to separate these panels, so I'll give his knees a squeeze just to make sure they're together. So, because if the knees separate, if I can do it with my fingernail, this gets floppy because it's not held in there as good. So if you got a floppy landing gear, just give his knees a squeeze and see if that helps. The next thing I like to do is to just detach his wing. You've got a tab that goes into a slot on the arm, and we're going to accordion it under on this hinge. Right here, this vent is the hinge, so the vent's going to actually go up into this groove and sit up in there. Not sure how well you can see that. There, so there's the vent sitting up in there. And then now that that's under there and the hinge is not going to move anymore, we can fold this flap in and it'll kind of cover up that hinge and give his shoulder the accurate look. So this is the shoulder for robot mode right here. Here's the wing for robot mode, and here's the wing for vehicle mode. So they shrunk it down real good. So yeah, just untab it, accordion it back, and then fold it up, and that's what it looks like from the front. And after you do that, go ahead and pull his arms away from his body. This will open up here, so if you want to avoid trying to yank it out by his wing, just put your thumb between this thruster and this thruster like this, and then pry it out, because the thruster is actually attached to the part that's attached to his body. So you've got another tab and slot in the arm, and then you can go ahead and on the hinge here angle it all the way back. So this is what it looks like from the top. It's a double hinge, so you'll just work it until you can't get it any farther. And then his arms can just kind of hang out for now. We'll go ahead and crack his legs off his back. There is, let me rotate his arms out of the way actually. You don't have to, but I will for this. There's a big slot here and a tab on each of the legs that will go into it. So you just angle his hips down and that comes unattached. And then go ahead and rock his knees out on their hinges. Now, another controversy with this guy is that if you pull his legs all the way out, he's got huge gaps in his knees, and that there's no real stopping point for his knees that you know they're in place. Well, the place I stop them is that the hinge that it's on, this pearly brown hinge, we'll go ahead and get our flash in again. I make it so that it's parallel with the panels that make up the legs, and then his knees are sitting like that, and that's how I have his knees. So they're kind of quasi locked in place because they're parallel, and the knee's gonna bend, but this joint isn't gonna wiggle out so easy because there's still some stuff keeping it in there. So that's how I have his knees, if anyone's curious or wants an idea. Then you can fold these two thrusters up and pull this whole section up together and take his feet out. They just fold out from inside of his legs. Then you'll fold the thrusters down against the panels and then fold them away into the legs like so. And then we'll separate his legs. I'll get his feet straightened out here. And now we just move on to the torso, and this is why I was keeping the arms rotated. So I'm just going to rotate those back, because what you're going to do is you're going to rotate the entire arm panel up, and then I'm going to raise my camera up actually. There, that looks like it should be good. And then you're going to separate the front of the body and the back of the body, so that all you're left with is this thin strut in the middle with all of this hanging off of it. The cockpit window will sit nicely in a little groove there, and if you have the arms rotated forwards already, then they're going to be bumping up against his hips and they're going to be getting in your way. What you want to do is open the nose cone, fold that in, then open it farther down. Just trying to do this one-handed. Open it farther down. The landing gear might come open, that's fine, just fold it back in. You can either hold it in or you can get everything rotated into place. There's a hinge, double hinge here that you're going to collapse this on, then fold it back in. If the landing gear is out, it can sit in this groove, but it juts just slightly farther than the rest of this, so it's going to be scraping along on the inside where his head is sitting currently when you're trying to rotate it around. So make sure it's put away, and then collapse this back together, and his entire nose cone is now right inside this section, kind of like Dragoon's chest, and that section folds into his chest and his nose cone is gone. Fold up the chest, fold up the back, and it's just like it was in jet mode, spaceship mode, whatever you want to call it. So, except now instead of a nose cone, he's just got a head, so that's pretty cool. And then accordion his shoulders back forward. You've got a big old tab and a big old slot. They come together. And then we can open up his forearms. I'll rotate it down so we can see. We'll open his forearms, rotate his hand out. Now, this thing only rotates one way because it'll get stopped by the molding. So when you're going back to vehicle mode, if you have his hands out forward like I do, just rotate them up. And then we'll rotate his arms so the fin's on the outside, so he's got both fins facing the same direction. So when you want to go to jet mode, rotate so the fin is up, and then rotate the hand towards the fin to know you're in the right direction for transformation. Alrighty, other arm, same thing. We'll rotate his arm out, rotate his hand direction of the fin is, put it in place, and there you have Cyclonus in his robot mode. go ahead and get him posed here. Lower the camera a little. We'll take a look at his details. I shouldn't have lowered the camera. What am I doing? Always zoom in first. So his face is molded in purple. His helmet is with purple paint on his bunny ears. His entire face is painted silver, and then he's got very good light piping in his eyes. He's just sitting under normal light, and his eyes are just glowing. I don't have another light to put behind it right now, or else I'd show you what it looks like from behind, but a lot of the times you have light piping and you can't even tell it's light piping without a direct light source. This guy's just in general light and his eyes look like they're glowing. So coming down the chest, like I said, this purple difference is less noticeable off camera, but it honestly doesn't bother me either way. You've got some molded details here. His whole shoulder area cleans up real nicely. Mine has a crack. It has since the beginning, but it hasn't gotten any worse because I know it's there and I'm not, you know, mangling my figure when I transform it. So and then there's a paint scuff because this part is painted. It's gonna scuff eventually. You've got a blast effect port, Decepticon signal, all that detail on his chest that we saw on the bottom of the jet mode. You've got a port here. These orange pieces are clear plastic, again, just details in clear plastic instead of paint to get scratched off, which is really nice. This silver paint in here is like in there, so it's going to be hard for that to scratch off. His hips are coated in the same plastic, or not coated, molded in the same plastic as his hands and his actual nose cone, where they're molded in this color. I believe the hinge at his arm is molded in it too, and then this part of the arm and this part of the thighs are painted in the same pearlescent color that the other part of his nose cone was. And I said it wasn't too distracting when they were separated by purple, but you can definitely see the difference when they're right up against each other. Again, it does not bother me. Paint matching is hard, and it's where the joint is, so you know, some toys will straight up have gray here and red here, so if you're going to be mad that they're slightly different when other toys have completely different colors, then you're going to be mad, and I'm not going to have your opinion of it. In the legs, you've got a darker purple than his leg painted, and then an even darker purple in the middle painted, which is what most of the purple highlights have been painted so far. And then the landing gear just looks like details on his legs, so they're not even like poking out very much. And then this is where the arms plug in, and this just looks like some kind of groove detail for just robot details in general. His feet have more of that dark purple paint applied, so that way, you know, they're picked out in paint. You've got vents on the inside of his legs. Back of his legs are the back of the ship, and they tidy up really well. And I don't have the knee issue because of where I stop it, like I said. And then the cockpit's just on his back. Apparently this is the wrong direction, but to me this makes sense, the direction it's in, more than the thin part pointing up. So I actually like the way that looks. Excuse me. I like the way that looks anatomically, so I'm not going to complain about that either. And then these little bits hanging off them, it could be way worse than just this, so I'm not going to complain about that either. I'm not really going to complain about anything. I'm just going to say things that other people complain about. But that's him in his robot mode details. We'll go ahead, bring his weapon back in, and it's just 5mm peg and port in his hand, but the gun is molded to fit around this slanted part of his arm, so it'll go right into his hand and it'll fit right in there. Almost looks like it's kind of coming out of his arm, but since I usually don't have his gun on him, I'll have him do the Mega Man hand thing, where I'll just rotate his hand around, and like in Transformers Prime, now he's just got a gun, which is great because he can dual wield without any weapons. But we'll turn his hand back around, get him standing here. So that's it for transformation and details. I'm going to lower my camera now, try and push him back a little, get him in frame. There we go. We'll go ahead and start doing some comparisons and wrap this up. Luckily for me, I decided to start filming it in small segments and putting it together again. I decided that just because the music's not going to be different doesn't mean I can't film it in segments, put them together, and then put music on it, because I almost forgot his articulation again. I got partway through I got all the way through the review pretty much without talking about it. So before comparisons, we'll do articulation. He's got a ball joint at the head, and his neck has a hinge at the base, so you can get down very far, up very far, tilt, full 360 rotation at the head. I'm just going to move this arm out so it's out of my way later. His shoulders are full 360. His arms move up 90 degrees, and they've got nice molded stuff in here to make him look, complete without just a little hinge up in there. He's got a full 360 at his bicep, but the wing that is part of his arm can get in the way of his wing on the back of his arm, so it'll run into that, but you get all the motion you need. If you go past this point, he's busted his arm. So there is an elbow bend, as you've seen. There is a wrist swivel. It is tight, but it will go all the way around. For his hip area, he does have a waist swivel. No ab crunch, but I'm not expecting one. But yeah, and the waist swivel is cut really nice too, so and then you've got universal hips, because there's nothing hindering him on his back, because his back is clean. He's got full back, full forward, full out. He's got a thigh swivel. It's pretty tight, works really well. You could do a full 360. The knees I talked about a little bit, but we'll go ahead and touch on them again. Technically, he's got a double jointed knee, but when you pull it out to try and use it, it looks very bad and it barely gets you anymore. So I will just leave it where I have it, and then at most just back his thigh up against this part, and then when it's folding back down, make sure it lines back up. So he's getting 90 degrees at his knee, more or less, depending on how you use it. And then at his ankles, for transformation, they'll rock forward, they'll rock back a little bit, barely noticeable, because you can just kind of see the angle where this is not parallel to this, because I'm going to say that them being parallel is his standard foot rotation, not back far enough to matter, in other words. And then you've got a rocker, and for the way his foot is all locked up in there, the rocker's pretty good. Can get him in a nice A stance. So, but there's his articulation. I forgot it, but I didn't forget it, so good for me. Now that we've got his articulation handled, we can go ahead and move on to size comparisons. Starting off size comparisons, we have the cube. There he is with the cube. Here we have him with the Gormagala statue, and the pilots decided they didn't want to get eaten, and they transformed their ship, and now they're going to stomp him. I'm debating whether or not I should glue him together, because I can't store him if I do, but his wings want to come off. For the Bumblebee review, we've got this Bumblebee. And like I said, when I was talking about this Bumblebee previously, he's basically a medium-sized Voyager, and here's Cyclonus, who is actually a medium-sized Voyager. And other than helmet differences in like the ears and stuff, they're basically the same height at the head. And then the next comparison, you've got a smaller Voyager in Primal, so he's much shorter, and you can definitely see that here. But they're both good figures, and the Voyager class is a price point more than a standard size now, so Cyclonus is bigger and his transformation is more seamless but he's got one gun, Optimus Primal. He's smaller. His transformation is a little less seamless, but he's got the Mega Blasters and the Cyber Swords and the little arm cannons. So it just depends. You know, you're getting your bang for your buck either way. And then, because I don't feel like transforming the Origin Bumblebee and the transforming him back for another Bumblebee comparison, I just so happen to have this guy out. This is the knockoff MPM03, so I'll be reviewing it eventually. Like I said, I've got most of the MPM line in some form or the other than Megatron and Ironhide. So those will be rolling through. Maybe I'll do those on like holidays, like my video around Thanksgiving I'll do a masterpiece, and then Christmas and New Year's I'll do a masterpiece. We'll see. That's it for size comparisons, so we'll go ahead and wrap this up. Alright, that's about all there is to say about this figure. It's pretty much my favorite figure, main retail right now, barring something from Studio Series maybe. And like I said before, even then, it's questionable. It really is. There's really nothing I don't like about this figure. The robot looks great, cleans up, super great. The transformation is fun and has some cool moments, like with the nose cone and what the flaps for his shoulders do. And the alt mode, unless you're like super off put by those gaps, and you know, I think that says more about you than the figure. You're not gonna have any disappointments with this guy unless your copy has an actual quality issue. The only issue I have on mine is sometimes this gets loose if I don't make sure to squeeze the leg shut, and he's got some paint chips because I played with him. Not really a quality issue, more a he is loved and used issue. Now, because my schedule is going to be in order of end cards, it is a little messed up. This is coming out on a Monday when it should have been coming out on a Friday as a bigger figure. Wednesday, you'll see the comparison of Skybreaker and Dragoon. Friday, you'll see Origin Bumblebee's review. And then the following Monday, it will be back on track, and I'll be doing a smokescreen review from Earthrise, I believe he was in. And I'm going to go through my Earthrise and my Kingdom and my Siege figures. And then when I switch from the War for Cybertron trilogy into the Studio Series figures, if I don't just roll them out slowly on a Wednesday, because I have had videos on Wednesdays the past couple of weeks, I'll go for the 86 Studio Series first to keep it in G1. And then we'll go through the Studio Series, and then I'll just pick off stragglers of other lines I have. I even have a transforming Digimon figure somewhere around here that I might review at some point. And one of the reviews I recorded, it could have been the Megatron that just came out Wednesday. It could be the Dragoon's Skybreaker review that's coming out this Wednesday. I said I have nothing Masterpiece G1. That's technically a lie, and I apologize for lying to you guys. I have a Legends class knockoff of the New Age Megatron from G1, the gun Megatron. I don't have most of the accessories, but I do have him. So other than my silver-legged Optimus that's still lost in the mail, he got returned to TF Direct, and they're going to be reshipping him out to me, so hopefully he doesn't get caught up in this storm that is their shipping over there, because I ordered him, and then I ordered 3 different figures from Show Z, because I ordered 2 versions of Evil Voice at separate times, one from my sister-in-law, one for me. And then I ordered the Skybreaker, and they've all come by now without any issues. So my Optimus Prime was just cursed, so we're hoping that they got him back now. They're going to reship him, and we'll see if that breaks the curse. But until I get him in, the only G1 Masterpiece style figure I have is a Legend scale New Age Megatron, and this one I found out was a knockoff. I got him from my friend, and I was looking up how to install the upgrade kit if I bought it for his hips, and mine doesn't have screws, it's got pins, so it's a knockoff. But that's okay, he'll just have the hips that he had when he was made. So I hope that cleans up my schedule a little bit. I didn't want the end cards to be all messed up, so I decided to just record this for a Monday and Bumblebee for a Friday. Maybe I'll put out a bonus review on Friday just to make it feel a little bigger than Monday. I feel like Fridays are more important. So maybe I'll do a review of another deluxe on Friday. I wonder if I have anything else special lying around here that's deluxe, like because this Origin Bumblebee's from the Buzzworthy Bumblebee line. We'll see what happens. Maybe I'll record a Voyager on top of it from like the Netflix line or something. We'll see. Anyway, I've rambled long enough about my schedule changes. I'll see you Wednesday for the Dragoon Skybreaker breakdown. Robot mode only, by the way. I didn't transform them because the size is barely different and there aren't many details that are different besides just the paint job. The robot's where most of the additional details are. So that's Wednesday. Origin Bumblebee Friday, maybe with an extra review, we'll see. And then back to hopefully the normal schedule the following Monday.